Well, the summertime's here, and I thought it'd be about appropriately. I don't even know where I'm going today, but appropriate to hang out with Lori from Purposely Unplugged. Lori, how are you? It's great to see you.
Absolutely wonderful. And Dave, as we're coming into the summer months, this is a difficult topic. So some people may not want to listen to this podcast, and I respect that. But
Okay,
Dave,
just
let's
a
talk.
sec. Just teasing.
You actually had me there. Okay. Uh, so, I really want to talk about grief and loss. And I know that is very tough. So if some listeners don't want to continue, I respect that.
Yeah, but I think it's one of those situations that you have to work through. Like it's never easy. And with grief and loss, the one thing I always find, and I know we're going to dive into this, but one of the things I want to that I always reflect about is sometimes I think I'll see somebody that's my dad on the street, and it's like, boom, all that comes right back so quickly. And you think you've worked through all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing how that can just sometimes flare up.
Yeah. And Dave, it could be a smell. It could be a movie.
Yeah.
It could be a song. It could be anything. I mean, there's one song my son sent me and it makes me cry every time. And when I pass, I'm sure that's what it will do for the whole family, right? But in all reality, it can be all of those senses, Dave. And you're absolutely right. And it's just those stages. And when I talk to someone about grief, I'm like, it's not like these stages are linear. It's like when you put a bag of popcorn in the microwave and there's chaos and then it calms. So really, shock, denial, anger, depression, bargaining, acceptance, testing. And David Kessler added another one, meaning, finding meaning in loss.
And we're talking a little bit today about a book called Finding Peace at the End of Life, correct?
Yes, absolutely. So it is a wonderful book. It can help a family as they are losing someone. So Dave, that book can really help a family move through. Or there are strategies as well, once loss has been experienced, how to kind of reclaim joy and what that journey of healing might look like. So I love the book for both reasons.
Okay, and we'll make sure we get that picture up and we can show folks that book, because you've been recommending books the last little bit this year, and it's been wonderful because it gives some insight into what you're thinking, I think, sort of where you're coming from in a lot of these situations, and people can follow, and if they want to pick up those books and read them, that's up to them, but that gives them an opportunity maybe to look inward a little bit more, doesn't it?
It does. And just to see things from a different perspective, get some ideas. And then if you're working with a therapist, take that back to them. If you stumble on something that you need to talk to with a therapist, then it will just give you the groundwork to have those conversations.
So when we started this, we were talking about summer, and it's that time of year. Yeah. And we were talking about unpacking things in the summer. So maybe go a little deeper with that, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Well, we have holiday weekends. Some of us have vacations, and we naturally feel better in the summer. So in the winter, if we're feeling down and blue, we don't want to tackle these big emotions because they are big emotions, Dave. So sometimes in the summer, we naturally feel better. We're naturally outside. We have this extra time. So that extra time of reflection can be a good thing or it can be a bad thing. It can draw us deeper into the emotion and sadness, or it can help us on the healing journey. So the one thing I was thinking, Dave, some families plant a tree. Well,
yes.
Now we can do that, right? Yep. It's summer. Yep. Some families get together with friends and just have a celebration of life, and maybe they've waited from the winter months to do that. And as well, it's just this time where we have extra time to reflect, extra time to be outside, and I'm hoping people can use it in a way to just reclaim and cultivate some joy.
Well, the positive memories too from the past that come with summers, right? That's always important to me. It's like it's a really good. Actually, I always find the end of summer is really reflective, just for that summer or maybe previous summers, because it puts a lot in perspective for me when you're moving into when you're moving into fall. It's different. Again, I agree with you 100%. Those seasons will condition you a little bit to think differently each one rolls around. And a lot of people, like you see a lot of people that I have some older friends who just never seem to get over the grief.
I know. It could be years, Dave. So the first year is always the most difficult. The first Christmas, the first Mother's Day, the first Father's Day, the first birthday, the first kind of tradition that is lost. The first year is very difficult. But then year 3, year 5, year 7, year 10, there seem to just be these cycles of grief. And honestly, Dave, lots of people will say, it's been long enough, get over it.
Yes, you will.
Other people will say, well, this is what I did to cope with grief. You should do that.
Right.
And so that's what this book is really good about. It talks about the fact that there is not a cookie cutter for grief.
I got you.
And there's so many different ways and different things to think about, meaning, rituals, legacy planning. There's different things covered in this. And I really appreciate that there's lots to think about.
At the end of it all, though, is the grief just not your own fear of dying?
It could be. Some of us feel it differently, though. It could be the loss of memory, the loss of what that person was, or the loss of, what that person meant to us. So it can be loss and meaning of what that person was. Very true, though. Lots of us start to think about our own mortality and then really get our lives in order. So there's actually some things and strategies around that where you can have like a life story. You could begin to write your life story, Dave. And then as you pass, those that love you have that to reflect on. You could start your planning and you could move through those stages. We all experience grief differently. And I just hope it can be an open discussion.
When you're unpacking this during the summer months, then is like, do you recommend, like, I think it might be, I think if I wasn't sure of what I was going to do, I would be in touch with you first. I'm not sure I want to go down that path, you know what I mean, in the middle of summer type thing. Do you find, that we should give you a plug here because people can reach out to you through your phone number or your website, Purposely Unplugged, and check it out? Because I think if you really want to deal with it, make sure there's somebody there to support you, because it can be, well, it's your job. It can be very tumultuous, to say the least. Is true.
Yeah. And some people find that they've already been through a healing journey, but they're just stuck in spots. Other people, they may reach out right away, and other folks might reach out as a family member is passing. I mean, if there's time and if there's that preparatory period, the grief processing can look very different for everyone. And it's not easy.
And it can hit years later.
Absolutely.
So you think you've dealt with it, or maybe there's something that, like you said, maybe there's that smell, that song, or something that just triggers those emotions again. But I gotta think that's probably a good thing, because then it keeps those memories alive, right?
It is a good thing if we've processed the grief first so that we can see the joy in that. If we haven't processed that underlying grief, then that could spark extra sadness or bring us back in our grief journey a few steps back. So it's really about finding balance. There's an entire chapter on balance, finding balance, and then moving forward from there.
So that's where that meaning piece comes in too, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And as David Kessler has added this to the stages of grief, I mean, meaning could be celebrations, could be writing, could be an event, could be things people do. This legacy piece and meaning making can mean almost anything for a family. It's very personal.
Yeah, for sure it is. But I think too, like, just hearing you talk about it, and people use different sources to work their way through it. Like we've always talked about, mine's usually exercise. That's the way I like to cope with things. But I think everybody has their own unique skill that they use to help them get through those things. And if but you still need to talk to somebody. That's the bottom line, and that's why Lori's here.
Yeah. Wonderful.
So let's start. Lori, no, we'd be here all day, and I don't think you'd enjoy that too much. I mean, it's your job, but I still think you'd be like, oh, Dave, come on now. The other part about life too is I think there's a certain stage in your life, and I'm only speaking for myself, from my experience with my heart problems, where it's okay. Where I'm at to the stage in my life where it's all okay.
It's all okay.
Yeah, it's not a problem anymore. I'm not afraid of it. Dying, that is. And I understand it a bit better for what the situation was that I went through, and maybe more appreciative of the time I have left here.
Excellent. That's a great way to say that. And I appreciate that. And you're right. So thank you for sharing that.
But I think that more people, I shouldn't say more people, because everybody, like you just said, deals with it differently. But the experiences, and the other part that I think we miss out on, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, is having that conversation with somebody that is wiser, older than you. Because perspective, that perspective, when you hear it from them and what the battles or what they've been through, it really aligns everything I find for myself, because that conversation usually provides me with insight that I didn't think about.
Absolutely. So it shifted your meaning. I mean, that's part of
Right.
meaning, right? It shifted your meaning. So absolutely. And that's part of this. And you're right. Some of us come to these stages. Other folks never do. I mean, families could deal
Yeah.
with loss where there is no plan and no one knows what the plan is and no one knows what the person preferred. I'm sensing, Dave, from what you said, your family knows what you want and knows what to do and knows how you want to handle the loss as you leave us.
And you just brought up a good point, because there's two parts to that. The grief part, there's the person actually passing, and then it's trying to cope with everything that's secondary beyond that. And that's where a lot of families get stuck.
Absolutely.
And they overlap. So the grieving doesn't really get done because there's so many other issues that are in the way, maybe, of this person suddenly passing, and all that stuff. It builds to usually a negative outcome.
Yeah,
That's my guess.
It's cumulative. And I mean, some families do a good job and everyone knows what to do. I mean, both my sons know exactly what to do. We talked about it for years. They know where all the information is. They know they have access to the bank accounts already.
Yes.
So some families handle this differently, but other families don't. And then the family realizes that there isn't a plan and they don't know what to do. So that's where, there's no expected grief journey. And there is the part of the loss, the preparatory loss, or the sudden loss, and then the steps that come out of that as well.
Wow, this is an interesting topic. How do people get a hold of you if they want to ask you more questions?
Yeah, phone is always best, 226-934-7425.
Do you have anything else to add to this wonderful conversation?
That it's a difficult stage in all of our lives, and we all will face it at some point. I mean, if you've lost someone this year, if you're in the midst of losing someone, it's just great to reach out. And I mean, it's not just loss of a person. It could be loss of a job, same grief cycles. Could be loss of a relationship, same grief cycles. I mean, yes.
I see that a lot. Yeah. I'm a big pet guy. So yeah. I feel it's funny, that tremendous feeling you have with that situation too, but that's a whole nother can of worms we can go down some other day. But yeah, so there's all these other ways you can lose things, but if you're not prepared, and most of the time we're not, let's be honest, we're not.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, okay, I'll just surf this one out and figure out where to go with it. But you can't always do that. And that's where, again, my friend Lori comes in, purposely unplugged, to help you out, figure this out, get yourself back on the right track that you want to be on. And I think that's the other part. You need to be the best you can be. And sometimes you need a little help to do that, right, Lori?
Absolutely.
Great catching up with you today. So much fun. I'll think of a topic next month that'll blow your mind, okay?
All right. Wonderful. Take care.
Well, I always like to ask you the hard questions, right?
It's okay.
All right. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.